Do you ever have the thing where, right, so you're coming up with all these crazy rationalizations for why you don't actually, but you just have to like sit, like if you let yourself, you kind of have. The other day, Hallie was mentioning how growing up her dad was very emotionally open and vulnerable with her, and like gave her the idea that her parent was just a human, and that sounded really nice. Just on a gut level first impression reaction right away, I was like, oh wow, I wish I had that, because my dad, I think his entire parenting style was predicated on convincing us that he was not human, that he was a godlike authority that could not be challenged and could not be questioned, and we just had to do what he said. And I think it would have been cool if I would have been able to have the perspective that, like, my parents are just human people much earlier than I did. But immediate emotional response aside, I do think my dad's parenting style did have a lot of advantages, as much as it sounds crazy that a parent would have that, like, level of authority. I think there's often a lot of times where it's necessary, where just like, you know, kids are great, but they're dumb. You know, there are so many things that kids just genuinely don't have the brain power to understand yet and can't be explained. And like ideally, yeah, like everything that you need your kid to do, you could explain to the kid and have the kid do it because the kid understands that it's the right thing. But you cannot comprehend the risk, and you don't have the perspective, and you can't run that probability calculation the way an adult can, and just fucking do the safe thing because your dad says so, and you don't need a reason. I remember the lint screen in the clothes dryer, and that if I did laundry and forgot to clean out the lint screen, my dad would come find me in my room and bring me the lint screen, or maybe just tell me about it. But in either case, he would go out of his way to come and point out to me that I forgot it and make me take care of it, when it would have been so much easier for him to just do it himself. That's just one of 100 examples probably where there was some little thing that I didn't do that it would have been much easier for him to just do it himself, and much more pleasant for everyone involved if he didn't have to come nagging me for it. Like, as annoying as it was for me to be nagged about it, can you imagine how much more annoying it must have been for him to do that nagging? You know, he like, as a parent, you probably want your kid to like you, I assume, and to have to like go out of your way and put in extra effort to be unpleasant to someone who you want to like you, that must have been so aggravating to have to do, and yet he did it. It's the kind of little thing where keeping the lint screen clean, or putting your stuff away, or keeping things orderly doesn't actually matter, but the mental activity of understanding that if I don't clean the lint screen, someone else has to clean the lint screen, and I need to get in the habit in all areas of my life of just like having that consideration that everything I do, I need to like take care of it and pay attention and conduct myself in such a way that doesn't cause an extra effort for someone else later down the line. Because if I don't clean this thing now, someone else has to clean it later. And if I don't pay attention in this conversation and treat this person with as much consideration as possible, that's gonna have an effect later. And I think that's such an important thing mentally to train, and I think my dad was so phenomenally good at constantly making the hard decision and doing the unpleasant thing in the name of that training. Because I think it works a lot like physical activity, where putting in that constant mental effort to pay attention to things and to take care of things and to be attentive is exhausting, much in the same way that running is exhausting. But also, people somehow do things like run marathons, and you can build up that strength, you can build up that mental energy and have more of it. None of which is to say that, look at me with all of my boundless mental energy for all of these things, and this is why I am on top of my life, but I do think it helps.